We see beautiful, flashy martial arts, and Hapkido is one of the big ones. It promises an amazing 360-degree defense that you'll move like water using an attacker's force against them. But has its street effectiveness been overblown? What looks good in a dojo with a cooperating partner is one thing. What happens on the street is something else entirely. Real violence is not a dance. It's ugly, chaotic, and fast. Will that multi-step wrist lock you practice to save you, or get you injured because it relies on a perfect scenario that never happens? Separate art from application. Your life could depend on it. In the dojo, everything is perfect. The floors are matted. The lighting is good. Your training partner is your friend. They are wearing a uniform, a dobok that is easy to grab. When you practice a technique, they know what's coming. They move with you. They let you apply the lock. They fall correctly to avoid getting hurt. This is the dojo dream. It is a controlled environment designed for learning, for repetition, for perfecting the form of a technique. You can practice a complicated 10-step takedown and your partner will go along for the ride every single time. If you're enjoying the video so far, hit the like button. And if you're a martial arts enthusiast, drop a heart in the comments below. This is how you build muscle memory for the ideal situation. But the street is the opposite of this dream. The street is a nightmare scenario. There are no mats. You might be on concrete, on gravel, or on wet, slippery pavement. It could be dark. There could be obstacles everywhere. Cars, trash cans, curbs you can trip over. The person attacking you is not your friend. They are not wearing a uniform you can easily grip. They might be wearing a leather jacket or a hoodie that's hard to hold. Most importantly, they are not cooperating. They are actively trying to hurt you. They will punch you in the face while you are trying to set up your fancy wrist lock. This is the street reality, and it is a brutal, unforgiving place. To get to the truth, we had to create a test as real as possible without anyone actually going to the hospital. Forget the dojo mats and the friendly training partners. We needed chaos, pressure, real resistance. So, we designed a series of simulated street scenarios. We recruited 2 seasoned Hapkido black belts, both with over a decade of training. They were sharp, skilled, truly believed in their art, not actors, legitimate practitioners. This was crucial. We wanted to see the art perform at its best. To make this a fair fight, we didn't just test them against other Hapkido guys. We brought in a diverse group of martial artists to play the attackers. We had a former Golden Gloves boxer who knew how to throw fast, hard punches. We had a high school wrestler, an absolute bulldog for takedowns and clinch control. And we had me. I've been around, I know how to mix it up, and I was there to simulate the unpredictable, anything-goes street attacker. We wore protective gear, of course, but the instruction to the attackers was simple. Resist 100%. Don't cooperate. Your goal is to overwhelm them. The environments were just as important as the people. We didn't use a gym. First, a simulated crowded bar with tables, chairs, and other patrons getting in the way. Second, a narrow, poorly lit alleyway, perfect for an ambush. Third, a parking lot with cars to get pinned against and uneven ground. And finally, a mock-up of a public bus with tight spaces and poles to grab onto. Our first big test was the classic alleyway ambush. We had our Hapkido black belt, let's call him David, walking through the narrow, dimly lit space. The attacker, our wrestler, stepped out from behind a dumpster. Hard shove to the chest, immediate tackle attempt. David's Hapkido training kicked in. He instinctively tried to sidestep, redirect the wrestler's momentum, aiming to get control of an arm to set up a throw. In the dojo, this would have been a beautiful, flowing movement. But this wasn't the dojo. The wrestler was like a tank, driving forward with pure, explosive power. David managed to get a grip on the wrestler's jacket sleeve. Not the clean, perfect grip he was used to. The wrestler didn't care. He wasn't striking or grabbing in a stylized way. He was trying to drive David into the brick wall. David attempted a standing armbar, a move he had practiced thousands of times, but the wrestler was constantly moving, driving, changing levels. David couldn't secure the position. The wrestler powered through, got a body lock, and slammed David against the wall. The sound of the impact echoed in the alley. Now it was close quarters grappling, a world away from Hapkido's preferred range. This is where the first major breakdown happened. Hapkido joint locks, especially standing ones, require a degree of control and a very specific body position to work. They are extremely sensitive to pressure and to movement against a fully resisting attacker focused on raw aggression. Establishing that control is almost impossible. David burned energy trying to secure a complicated lock while the wrestler used simple, gross motor movement. pushing, pulling, driving to dominate the space. In the end, the wrestler lifted David and took him to the concrete. Once on the ground, top pressure, basic grappling neutralized any scramble. The scenario was stopped before it went too far. The lesson was brutally clear. Hapkido promises flowing, continuous motion, a chain of attacks where if one technique fails, you transition to the next. In the dojo, it looks like magic, but what happens when the first link breaks against an opponent who hits back? We put our Hapkido expert, Mark, against a boxer in a crowded bar. Mark parried the jab, but the cross came too fast. The punch landed, and his chain was broken before it even started. This is the fundamental problem with complex chains. A real striker dictates the rhythm. While Mark looked for a complex grab, the boxer threw more punches. The time needed to find that perfect opening is a window for a simple, direct attack. The system stalled. To get a reality check, we brought in two experts, Mike, a police officer, and Tony, a head bouncer. I asked Mike what he thought about the complex joint locks we saw fail.
A fancy wrist lock is a low percentage move, he told us. We rely on simple, gross motor skills, body weight, and leverage. We need things that work when adrenaline is through the roof.
Tony, the bouncer, agreed.
In a packed bar, you have 2 seconds and 3 feet of space. Your first move has to work. A hard shove or a solid clinch to move them towards the door. If it fails, you're getting hit by his buddy.
But it's not all bad news. We found specific situations where Hapkido was surprisingly effective. Its biggest strength? Escapes from grabs. While applying a standing lock on a resisting opponent was nearly impossible, using Hapkido's principles to simply escape a grip was very effective. For example, a quick, painful twist against an attacker's thumb can force a release, creating just enough space to get away. Another huge value was in its falling techniques. This didn't win the fight, but it absolutely prevented serious injury from a slam on concrete. So the value isn't in flashy techniques, but in the underlying principles of survival, breaking grips and knowing how to fall without getting hurt. After all the tests, the expert interviews, and the analysis, a very clear picture emerged. The myth of Hapkido as the ultimate street fighting system was, for the most part, busted. Its weaknesses in a real chaotic confrontation are significant and cannot be ignored. The primary weakness is its over-reliance on complex fine motor skills, small joint manipulation, intricate wrist locks, multi-step throws. These require precision and cooperation, none of which exists when someone is trying to punch your face in. Under adrenaline, your body loses that precision. You need simple, powerful actions. The second major weakness is the training methodology. Practicing with compliant partners creates a false sense of security. It conditions practitioners to expect specific reactions they won't get from a real attacker. We saw practitioners freeze for a critical moment when their go-to move failed. This failure to launch is deadly. The system doesn't prepare students for the sheer violence, speed, and non-compliance of a real assault. It trains a stylized Hapkido fight, not a street fight. However, Hapkido has strengths not often advertised. Body mechanics, balance, leverage, redirecting force is sound, grip breaking is practical and useful. Ukemi, the ability to fall safely, can save your head from the pavement. These are the hidden gems inside the art. So the hard truth, if you study Hapkido expecting movie-style throws, you're setting yourself up for a painful reality check. The offensive arsenal is unreliable against a determined resisting opponent. But use Hapkido for core principles, balance, grip breaking, falling, and supplement with more direct, pressure-tested arts, boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling. Then Hapkido can add valuable tools to your self-defense knowledge. It's a piece of the puzzle, not the whole picture. So, what's the real path to self-defense? Forget fancy moves. Your survival guide is 3 principles: awareness, de-escalation, and simple, overwhelming violence as a last resort. First, awareness. The best way to win a fight is to not be in one. If a situation feels wrong, leave. Second, de-escalation. If you can't avoid confrontation, talk your way out. Swallow your ego and give them your wallet. Your goal is to get home safe. Third, if you must fight, act with simple, overwhelming violence. This isn't about winning, it's about creating a window to escape. Strike and run. Finally, seek out training that includes live, resisting sparring like boxing, Muay Thai, or BJJ. Build a system that works for you under pressure. Stay safe out there.